I, 29 male, and my parents' only child together. My dad, 55 male, had an affair which resulted in a pregnancy, and my mom left him over it. The woman had twin girls, Bella 19 female and Amy 19 female, and I deeply resented all three of them for many years. With time and therapy, I was able to let go of most of my anger, but I will never be close to Bella and Amy, and just opted to be polite whenever I saw them or their mom. In a tragic twist of almost laughable karma, it was revealed that the woman my dad left my mom for wasn't as true to him as she led him to believe, and that Bella and Amy weren't his. It got nasty, and they got divorced when Bella and Amy were 16. My dad agreed to still be a part of Bella and Amy's lives at the time, and so opted for 50-50 custody. However, after a health scare, Bella decided she wanted to find and reach out to her bio dad, and while my dad wasn't happy about it, Bella soothed his worries when she stated that it would only be for medical purposes, as she had no desire to have him in her life. My dad helped Bella find him, and they had a meeting, and never said anything about it again. Unfortunately, it was revealed that Bella lied and was still seeing her dad in secret, and Amy eventually joined her. My dad wasn't happy about it, and there was an argument, but when Amy brought up how it was their right to see their dad, something in my dad snapped. He got quiet and told the girls that they were right, and when Amy and Bella left to spend the summer with their dad and his family, my dad put the house up for sale, moved all of Amy and Bella's things into a storage unit, deleted his social media, and changed his number. My dad sent a letter for Bella and Amy to their mom's place, explaining what he had done, and that they had 30 days before he cut off all financial support, i.e., college funds, phones, etc., saying that since their bio dad is so important, that he can be their father fully. My dad hasn't spoken to the girls since, and his side of the family is on his side, thinking that Bella and Amy are ungrateful and just as disrespectful as their mom. Bella and Amy have reached out to me to help them see and talk to my dad again, but I don't want to get involved, nor do I even know where to find him. We just call, text, or FaceTime each other. My father finally reached out, asking if he could come spend Christmas with me, my wife, our daughter, and my wife's parents, and I agreed. I'm not sure how Bella and Amy found out, and told me that they were going to come over too. Not asked, but told. I said no. I know that eventually my dad is going to have to talk with Bella and Amy, but I don't want that drama at my house during my daughter's first Christmas. I told my dad about Bella and Amy, and he said everything he needed to in his letter and has no desire to talk to them. I told Bella and Amy that they are not welcome, and they, along with their family and friends, are calling me the a-hole. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. This is not your circus. These are not your monkeys. You have no biological or familial relationship with Amy or Bella, and you're not obligated to provide the forum for them to have whatever conversation they believe they need to have with your father. Not the a-hole. Those are not your sisters. You are not obligated to let them in your life. Ignore them. Their mother was the first a-hole for lying, and then they became a-holes for sneaking and lying to your dad. That's his issue to deal with, and if he said he's done, then he's done. Don't get involved, and don't let them in your house. Oh my, such drama. First, let me start by saying not the a-hole. The only reason why Bella and Amy want to talk to your dad now is because he cut them off. They need to spend Christmas with their dad and be happy. How dare they just invite themselves over to your home? Please also tell them that if they show up, they will be met by the police, because this is not your monkey and not your show. So, since rent is so expensive in the city we live in, and it's only getting worse, she and her ex still live together as roommates. She sleeps in the bedroom, and he sleeps on the couch. I'm not thrilled about their situation, obviously, so I feel like I've always been keeping her at a distance in terms of our relationship until her ex moves out. There are endless examples of how he is holding her back and being verbally aggressive and controlling, despite the fact they're not together anymore. It's been a year of this, and there's no end in sight. Her biggest dream right now is to be free of him. Her 30th birthday arrives, and we had a great day together. Then she gets back to her apartment to find expensive diamond earrings from her ex. At first, she said she can't accept it. Then, for whatever reason, she does. Her reasoning is she was basically eyeing something exactly like that to buy for herself, so now she doesn't have to. She said that of course she will wear them sometimes because they're so nice. And she reaffirms how he knows they're not together and that he needs to move out. And if anything, he found someone else because he's been coming home really late recently, even in the early morning sometimes. And that he just gave it because they're roommates still, and he's trying to make up for all the BS he puts her through, and that's it. And then there's my reaction. I find the whole thing bizarre. I would have thought she would give it back and say, return it. The best gift you can give me is to move out. I just think it's sending the wrong message. He's supposed to be having thoughts of, okay, I need to finally move out. But now she's accepting a somewhat intimate in nature gift, and he might even see her wearing it. Isn't it contradicting to be hating his guts and wanting to be finally free of him, to then be accepting a gift from him just because it's expensive jewelry? She thinks it's just an asset to acquire, but in my mind, it will always be a gift from the aggressive ex. And she's going to put those on for events and not think about where it came from? It's also contradicting because she herself is a jealous person. And if, for example, I told her my ex got a super nice watch, and I said, well, of course I'm going to wear it, she would be furious. But her argument there is, well, we're still roommates. You don't live with your ex anymore, so it would be weird. Again, I'm 100% confident she feels nothing for him. I hear every day how terrible he is. The only reason why she hasn't moved out is because of rent prices, and she refuses to leave her pets behind. She thinks she's not doing anything wrong, and she explained it all to one of her friends, and they said I was acting childish and that it's no big deal. It's a no big deal gift. She just turned 30. Her roommate got her a gift. It's nice, and now she doesn't have to buy it later. And now she's really hurt and thinks I'm an a-hole by how I ruined her 30th with all this fighting. Edit. Just to be clear, there is zero chance it's anything to do with her not being over him. She's crazy in love with me. There's just factors she's dealing with of not being able to move out because she doesn't make a lot of money, and she has a cat and big dog she doesn't want to leave behind. It's only these two factors. 1. It sends him the wrong message when he's supposed to be only thinking about how he needs to move out. 2. The sentimentality of who the gift came from. She sees no problem with wearing it despite the fact it came from an aggressive ex that she hates. Somehow, she can easily overlook that due to how nice and expensive they are. It saves her money since she was going to buy something like it herself anyway. You know what else aside from rent is expensive? Diamond earrings are. This whole thing sounds juvenile, suspicious, and bizarre. In a whole year, she could not move out and away from her ex? No way to move in with other roommates? He makes her life miserable and she puts up with it for a year? OP, it sounds like you are being played for a fool here, sorry to say. An ex who supposedly dislikes her and gifts her with diamonds is not an ex looking to stay that way. Or there is something more going on there. Honestly, I'm going to say not the a-hole for arguing about this on her milestone birthday. Her behavior is suspicious and greedy. Everyone sucks here. The earrings are a symptom, not the problem. She and her ex need to finish sorting their crap out and actually separate. And you need to put this relationship on pause until they've actually done that. I wouldn't hold your breath waiting though. Not the a-hole. Her priorities are seriously suspicious. If she actually wanted him out of her life, there's no way she would be accepting those earrings. That money could be used towards him moving out. I think you should step back and try to get some more clarity on this relationship. She might be telling you she wants him out, but her actions say that she's pretty comfortable in this situation, and her ex clearly still loves her. My 49 female daughter Katie, 17, is graduating high school this spring and was just accepted to her first college last week. I share Katie with her father, my ex-husband, Will, 52 male, but have been married to my husband Brian, 49 male, for about 6 years. Brian has a son, Nick, 16, who is a junior at the same school as Katie. Brian has full custody of Nick while I share custody of Katie. Will and I divorced fairly amicably when Katie was young and have grown into strong co-parents. Will's family comes from substantial money, so as part of the divorce, we agreed that he would be responsible for the tuition and dorm bill for Katie's college, and I would pay for the other miscellaneous living expenses. I have saved enough to pay for these expenses, but I know that if something were to happen to my savings, Will or his family would be able to foot the entire bill for Katie's living expenses without any changes to his lifestyle. Will and I decided to sit Katie down and show her the whole picture of what college costs and what we will pay for. Brian thought it would be a good idea to have a similar conversation with Nick, even though he's only a junior. Unfortunately, the financial situation for Nick differs. Since his mother is not in the picture, it has been on Brian to save for Nick's college. Brian was able to save, and I've also contributed a bit. And he has about enough saved for a full associate's degree or half bachelor's degree at an in-state public school without living expenses. We didn't openly discuss the specifics of the different finances with each child, but did broadly say that they had different opportunities due to situations outside of their control. Nick has since surmised that his situation is very different from Katie's, and his choices will be much more impacted by finances than hers. Nick came to Brian and I very upset over the weekend. He said that it wasn't fair that Katie got to go anywhere she wanted, and he specifically was upset that Katie would not have to pay for her own room and board. He then asked that if Katie gets into a school with scholarships, if he could get the difference in tuition for his college. Or he said that I should contribute the savings I had for Katie to his fund and try to make it more fair since Will could make up the difference easily. I kindly told him no, I wouldn't do that, and that I'm really sorry for the situation. Then I told him, unfortunately, sometimes them's the breaks in life, and that we would do our best to make sure that whatever college he decides to go to, that he can make the most of the opportunity, even with loans. Nick was obviously upset at this, and Brian thinks my response to his asking made me a bit of an a-hole, even though I shouldn't have to change any of the agreement. I feel like I'm going crazy, but am I the a-hole? I would say a soft "you're the a-hole" for being so flippant about it. Your son is upset because he's staring down the barrel hole of a student debt shotgun. You could have empathized and sympathized with him, and instead decided to take the heartless route. The world is cold enough. Kids don't need the same attitude from their parents. Did you literally say "them's the breaks"? Because I can see how he's taking that as an a-hole thing to say. While it's true that not everyone gets equal opportunities and starts out with the same assets in life, saying "them's the breaks" is a dismissive, uncaring way to say it. The message isn't wrong, but the delivery was so bad it obscured the message. So, you're the a-hole. Not the a-hole. If all you said was "them's the breaks," then yeah, that would be super dismissive and rude. But you state that you said you'd find ways to support him regardless to make sure he will still get an education. Could you have said it a little more tactfully? Yes, but not a-hole territory yet. Just getting near the border. Next time you're having a deep conversation, try not to use dismissive language. I, 22 female, have recently got engaged to my dear fiancé, 38 male, who has the most abhorrent and obnoxious brother, 26 male. My fiancé usually goes to meetings or somewhere in the morning, and his brother would sometimes arrive to our house disheveled and visibly has been out all night. He proceeds to let himself in and makes himself coffee while saying the most uncanny things to me, which was his character to everyone, something I've witnessed at dinner parties. He would just excuse himself to have breakfast and freshen up, as he needed to show up presentable to his house, maybe so his girlfriend doesn't realize that he was a mess from the night. I would just make my breakfast and he would start saying the most bizarre comments, such as, "What do you see in my brother?" or that "I can do better for myself." He would mention how we were closer in age and was visibly saying things that made me feel yucky, as he was my fiancé's brother, though these were the only times he was nice. He would later message me and say, "Sorry, I wasn't thinking clearly," then the next day be the same jerk in front of others. I didn't really care about this that much and didn't tell my fiancé, as I didn't want there to be an issue stemmed by me. Though the morning after we told everyone that we were officially engaged, my fiancé told me that he had to leave the next day for a work trip that will last the weekend, but told me that he would make it up to me on the following Monday. During this weekend without my fiancé, I went out with my friends and just went about my normal routine. Though on Saturday evening, my fiancé's brother showed up clearly inebriated, invited himself in, and was saying a lot of nothing. He went on about how his life was becoming a mess, how our engagement ruins things, and how he can't imagine me married to my fiancé for the rest of our lives. I tried to sober him up by giving him water and food, but he kept on talking about our engagement being a negative thing, though would never clarify why. I felt iffy by the whole thing, helped him sober up, and allowed him to nap in our guest room. The following Monday morning, yesterday, my fiancé came back and I told him what happened. He said, "That sounds like my brother, always upset about something." And he said that he was probably upset that I'm settling down and how we can't do the things a single man would do. I proceeded to tell him that he didn't want us to get married and how he shouldn't be invited to the wedding as it is. He will probably find a way to ruin that. My fiancé was advocating for him the entire time, and I told him that we might as well just cancel the wedding if you intend to let him ruin it anyways. He was completely taken aback by this and got upset that I would cancel such a thing about something so minuscule. He just went on a drive, as he always does this when really upset. Am I the a-hole for saying this? Everyone sucks here. His brother's behavior is clearly unacceptable. He shouldn't be putting up with his brother's crap to begin with. But it's worse that his brother clearly wants you to himself. You've told him about these inappropriate comments, and he's still minimizing it. And it seems like you didn't even try to find a solution. Dude has been walking into your home where you live, and you're just opening the door and letting him right in. And then when you talk to your husband about it, and he minimizes it, you go from 0 to breakup in like 2 seconds. "I'll leave you" shouldn't be the answer you jump toward if you're not just looking for excuses to leave anyway. You're the a-hole. Normally, I'm all for people inviting whoever, but that's up to both of you. If you're thinking of canceling the wedding all because he wants his brother, who you didn't bother telling him about until now, at the wedding, then maybe you know you shouldn't be going through with it. The man is 16 years your senior. That's a few years shy of doubling your age. Not the a-hole. Your brother-in-law is trying to get with you, which will be a problem. Him saying how you guys are better together and coming to your house drunk and all that jazz is just icing on the cake. Main a-hole. Your fiancé is weirdly unaffected by this, but different strokes, right? Minor a-hole for not taking your concerns more seriously. I, 39 female, have been married to my husband, Adam, 34 male, for 5 years and together for 7. I've never got along with my sister-in-law. Before dating me, Adam dated sister-in-law's friend in high school. However, they broke up years ago and dated on and off afterwards, but had not been together when we started dating. I think sister-in-law thought her friend and Adam would get married, not me and him. Sister-in-law often accidentally forgets to bring a plate or chair for me at family dinners, and I had had enough when she forgot to invite me to a family barbecue about 6 years ago, where she had remembered to invite everyone but forgot me. I confronted her about this, and she told me she just forgot to add me to the family group chat. After I told Adam about how I felt about sister-in-law treating me, he had spoken to her about it, and she has since been distant with me and ignores me. Adam's family also stepped in and told her off, so she apologized over text. 2 weeks ago, out of the blue, sister-in-law texted me to be a bridesmaid at her wedding and repair our relationship. I was hesitant to agree, as we don't get along or talk, but she insisted and said she would get me a dress for the event. I know how much she means to Adam, so I agreed. She got me the same box of items as her other bridesmaids, including an expensive makeup set. Sister-in-law recently found out I am pregnant and has accused me of trying to upstage her wedding by announcing my pregnancy, although we kept the pregnancy a secret for months, as we were told I had a high chance of miscarrying. However, one of Adam's cousins pointed out I wasn't drinking at a family event, and Adam announced we were expecting. We are very happy, as we have struggled to get pregnant for years. But sister-in-law has said that I am now uninvited from the wedding. I will be heavily pregnant by then, and will probably not be able to fit in the dress she has got me. She has told me that she will now need to ask another friend to be a bridesmaid, and asked for her gift back. To spite her, I opened the gift box and used every item so she can't re-gift it. She is demanding I reimburse her for the gift and the dress. She has not charged any of the other bridesmaids for the dress, and she is still able to return it for a full refund. I agreed to pay for only the makeup and the gift as a compromise, but she asked me to pay full price for it, even though I know she got the gift a lot cheaper, as she works for that makeup brand, which I have refused. Adam has been on my side for this, and has told her that we will not be reimbursing her for anything. However, mother-in-law and the rest of the family want us to reimburse her for the dress and gift, as she will have to gift this all again to her new bridesmaid. But agree sister-in-law should apologize to me for uninviting me and allow me to attend as a guest. Not the a-hole, but I admittedly want to say that I wouldn't have accepted being a bridesmaid for someone you don't really care for. She can bring back the dress, pay her for the makeup, and you and hubby have a beautiful date night that day. Hubs doesn't get to attend the wedding if you're not invited. Not the a-hole. Your sister-in-law is toxic, and your mother-in-law should stay out of it. I feel sorry for the guy who is marrying her. Do not refund her a penny. This is her problem. If she isn't inviting you to the wedding, it is better for you not to be around such toxic behavior. Not the a-hole. She is still holding a grudge from high school because her dream of her brother marrying her teenage bestie didn't happen the way she wanted it to. To say your pregnancy is a way to upstage her is ridiculous. She seems to feel everything revolves around her, and you being pregnant literally has nothing to do with her. I agree with your husband. I wouldn't reimburse her anything. Don't fuel her fire by paying any attention to her. I would ignore every text and call, and kill her with kindness whenever you see her at family events. For some pretext about the situation. The reason I did not know about their kids is because me and my sister have literally not spoken in 7 years. Growing up, we couldn't stand each other, and the moment she moved out, all contact broke off. And when I moved out as well a year later, I also broke contact with my parents, but that's a story for another day. Well, to my surprise, a week ago I got a weird phone call from someone who turned out to be my mother. How she got my number, no idea. She starts telling me my sister lost her job because of everything going on, as she worked as a waitress, and tells me I need to let her move in with me because she has nowhere to go. To be clear, I was only asked about my sister, no mention of a husband or kids. I of course immediately reject this proposal and tell her she can let her move back in with her if she wants to help. Tell her not to call me again and block the number. I pretty much forget about that incident during the next few days. My rejection fell on deaf ears apparently, as yesterday morning a large white moving van stops literally in my driveway. How they found out where I live, again, no clue. And I get woken up by someone banging on my door. I open it up and surprise, surprise, it's a woman I do not recognize, flanked by 2 kids with an adult man and another kid who are starting to take stuff out of the moving van. She asks for help moving her stuff in, and I tell her she has the wrong house as I have no tenants. Well, she tells me she is my sister, and I had to take her and her family in as I apparently promised to do. In the background, her husband is literally rapidly hauling furniture and boxes out and putting it down in my front yard. I tell her to get the living F word out of here, and if they are not gone in the next 5 minutes, I'm calling the cops for trespassing, and slam the door. Well, I look out my window, hear some yelling, my sister starts crying, they haul their stuff back in and off they go. Here's the thing, I did not expect I would feel bad, but I do. Last I heard, my sister has never done well financially, and she obviously has nowhere to go if she felt the need to come to me of all people. Meanwhile, I own a large house that I bought for when me and my deceased wife had kids. We never did. She had a car accident last year, and, well, yeah. Got a great job, and I could easily house them and feed them, and it wouldn't even make that big of a dent in my finances. Also, here's the kicker. I know my wife would have taken them in, especially considering there are kids involved, who are now probably homeless. She was always the better person between the 2 of us, so I'm very conflicted. Edit. Just so I do not have to repeat this again. I keep getting comments about why I did not recognize her, and instead of continuing to answer them all individually. I was woken up by the knocking on my door. My vision is pretty blurry when I just wake up, and I figure I would have eventually recognized her given enough time. That said, from memory, my sister was always physically fit, healthy looking, attractive, fashionable, took good care of herself, used makeup, did her hair all fancy, just in general she looked nice. Yet it seemed like the past 7 years took a big toll on her, as it seems she aged 20 years the past 7 years. She looked unhealthy, tired, gained a considerable amount of weight, sickly looking, looks like she doesn't care for her appearance, messy hair, sloppy clothes. Not to talk down on her, but to give an explanation, like I said, she looked considerably different from what I remember. Not the a-hole. You would never get them to leave. They would be living off of you for as long as possible. I think you feel bad for the kids. Their parents suck, but sacrificing your mental health for them isn't a good thing. Not the a-hole. Those people are complete and utter strangers. You didn't even recognize her. And they assumed, possibly based on what your mother told them, that they could move an entire household of furnishings and children into your house without any discussion with you first. Even if you did agree to letting them move in, they should have contacted you to see how much room there was for furniture and whether there was enough space for their kids' stuff. No one in their right mind would ever just roll up with an entire truck of furnishings and start unloading. If you want to help, get your sister's contact info from your mom and offer to give her some money toward rent for a couple months or something. Pay any money directly to the landlord or bill. Don't give cash to your mother or sister, and set a limit and then stop. Not the a-hole. She showed up without your knowledge, even if your mom lied and had told her she could move in. Any normal person would have at least touched base with you before arriving. That makes me think she knew it was wrong. My, male 33, younger brother, male 27, has been working on getting his PhD in microbiology for the past 3 years. Bro was invited to present at a pretty prestigious health conference in the city me and him both live in. He lives alone about 10-minute drive away where I live with my wife, female 33. As my wife and I also work in healthcare, we were also invited to attend. My brother was super nervous to present there and wanted to go there very, very early. Since I knew me and my wife would also be going, I insisted that we give him a ride. He reluctantly agreed and canceled his Uber. The morning of, I wanted to go to my brother later than we had agreed to meet. This was because I thought that if he showed up so early, he would just be nervous as there wouldn't be anything for him to do after he set up. My wife wanted us to go to my brother at the time we originally agreed to meet, and told me that my line of thinking made no sense and would only stress him more. I didn't want to argue with her, so instead I took extra time getting there. As we were leaving, he called me and sounded super impatient, asking where I was. I said I'd be there soon. Unfortunately, Traffic slowed us down quite a bit. We arrived at my brother's apartment around 20 minutes after the call, with him already waiting outside. He just got into the car and didn't say much the entire trip, making the whole ride awkward. When we got to the conference, brother didn't thank me for the ride, and instead he had to rush to set up with his supervisor. Over the course of the conference, my wife kept saying I should apologize to my brother if I see him, but I told her that it wasn't necessary as he never holds grudges. After the conference concluded, he texted me saying he wasn't feeling well and decided to go home instead of waiting for us and catching a ride with us back. He also told me that his supervisor chewed him out for being late, and I felt that this was a bit dramatic and backhanded. I asked him if he wanted to have dinner with us, but he declined. Am I the a-hole? Edit 1. I've tried calling him this morning, but he hasn't returned any of my calls. He did, however, pick up when my wife called, as she wanted to check in on him. I understand that he may be offended, but doesn't he share a degree of responsibility when it comes to setting things right? Edit 2. Got off the phone with my mother, female 59. She told me that she'd cut off all contact with me if I didn't apologize ASAP, and even if I did, she may still cut off contact if my brother doesn't think the apology is good enough. She didn't wait for me to explain myself, and instead hung up once she finished. She hasn't been answering my calls since. Edit 3. I texted my brother saying, sorry to inconvenience you yesterday. I meant to be helpful. Since I sent it on WhatsApp, I saw he read the message but only responded 2 hours afterwards. I did think it was a little strange that he took such a long time to respond. His response was just, it's okay. I talked to him a while after on the phone. He was pretty quiet most of the call, but did say he accepted my apology. Edit 4. For those wondering, I'm an anesthesiologist, so the notion of I'm jealous of him is baseless. You're the a-hole. General rule for life. You do not know better what's good for someone than what they decide for themselves. If you're presenting at a conference, you need to be there very early. You have to track down the techie to get the PowerPoint loaded and make sure it works okay. You have to register. You need to quietly review your notes. You have to calm your nerves, and in his case, you need to check in with your supervisor. And you ducked all that up for him because, oh no, you knew better. You harmed his reputation with his supervisor. You clearly have no idea how serious that is. That could affect quite literally his entire future career in his field by getting off on the wrong foot. You made him look unprofessional, and you made him sick with the stress. If I say what I feel about you, I will be banned. I have no words. Your behavior was appalling. In 2 years lurking this sub, no post has angered me so much as yours. Your arrogance, your condescension, your smug self-righteousness, your lack of remorse is nauseating. Source: 10 years organizing conferences and 20-plus years as an academic giving presentations at conferences. So let me get this straight. You deliberately took your time to get ready so you would make your brother wait for you? Because according to you, you didn't want to argue with your wife over the fact that your reasoning for going later didn't make any sense. You made your brother wait even longer than he otherwise would have over you trying to prove a pointless point to your wife. None of the stated reasons for your actions make the slightest sense to anyone with more than just a couple of brain cells to rub together. Yep, you're the a-hole. Wow, you were consciously setting up your brother for failure. You're the a-hole. I have 3 children who I share custody of. My youngest daughter has graduated high school, but we found out that for 6 months prior, she and her friends had been picking on my stepdaughter at school. After getting more info from my stepdaughter's friend, apparently my daughter's friends instigated the aggression, while my daughter would often laugh at her stepsister's expense. I think this made her just as culpable as her friends, even if my daughter claims that she can't control what other people say about her stepsister. So the consequence of this was to cancel the graduation party I normally throw for my children who graduated. In the past, I've had an aunt who would give each child a $40,000 check to use for their college. It's been a huge help because my ex and I aren't well off. She gave these checks at the graduation parties. For my daughter, my aunt asked when we'd have the party so she can give the check. I told her we weren't planning a party as a consequence. She understood and said she'd bring the check when we met up in the future. Unfortunately, my aunt passed away a month after what should have been the party date. We never got to meet her before then. And the children are denying the existence of any check for my daughter, which may well be the case. This has created a huge conflict between my daughter and myself. She had been counting on the money to live on her own closer to campus and take out significantly less loans. But now she's going to have to live at home and take out loans. I've co-signed these loans for her because I feel terrible about it. I've tried talking to her about it and how I wish it hadn't gone this way, but she's completely iced all of us out. She moved down into our basement and doesn't come up anymore. She hasn't talked to me or my wife or my stepdaughter since. I do feel very badly that she lost out on the gift, and I feel very guilty about it. But I truly felt that I was giving a proper consequence at the time. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You imposed a reasonable consequence. You could not have known about your aunt passing away, or that her children would not honor her wishes, which makes them the a-hole too, if they knew this was something she had intended to do. When that reasonable consequence had larger than anticipated consequences, you stepped up to help mitigate these consequences. It sucks she missed out on the gift, but maybe this will teach her that her actions can have consequences and to be a better person. My sympathy is for the stepdaughter. Daughter who perceived herself to be stuck at home is going to take it out on stepdaughter. On the whole, daughter seems like a piece of work. OP is not a-hole-ish for canceling the graduation party. There was no adult behavior to celebrate. OP is certainly not an a-hole because aunt died unexpectedly. Stuff happens. The loss of the $40K check is a freak misfortune. No reason for guilt. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole, because you didn't deny your daughter the money. The aunt said she would bring it by at a later date, and unfortunately passed before that happened. You denied your daughter a party, but did nothing that would threaten her ability to go to college. You even offered to co-sign loans to make up for it.